You don't believe that statues can move. And you're right, they can't. When you're looking...
New York is policed by angels. Every time you try to escape, you get zapped back in time. The city that never sleeps. The angels will come, and
I think they're coming for you.
placing someone back in time creates time energy. And that is what the angels feed on.
What the hell are you doing?
Any ideas?
Run.
What is up, guys? Murderman4 here, back with another Doctor Who episode review. And so today is on the mid-season finale of Season 7, The Angels Take Manhattan. So let's jump into the summary. The cold open takes place in 1930s Manhattan, where private detective Sam Garner is hired by Mr. Grail to investigate moving statues at the Winter Quay, a set of apartment blocks. There, Garner finds an elderly version of himself dying in a bed and is traced by weeping angels to the rooftop, where he is confronted by a grimacing Statue of Liberty. In 2012, the Doctor, Amy, and Rory enjoy a picnic in Central Park. The Doctor is reading a pulp novel to Amy about a detective named Melody Malone when Rory leaves him to get coffee. Tearing out the last page because he hates endings, the Doctor continues to read and finds that Rory turns up in the novel. Rory, meanwhile, has been sent back in time to the 1930s by a cherub weeping angel and meets his daughter River Song, who he realizes had been the character of Melody Malone in the book. The two are abducted by Grail's henchmen, and River tells Rory that New York is subject to unusual time distortions and that prevent the Doctor's time machine, the TARDIS, from landing. When the Doctor and Amy attempt to travel to that time, they find themselves back in 2012 in a graveyard. Grail locks Rory in his dark basement with cherub angels and only a box of matches to protect him, while River is taken to his office. The Doctor and River find a way to communicate and set up a homing beacon, allowing the Doctor to land the TARDIS. In the meantime, Grail allows a damaged weeping angel to grab River's wrist so he can interrogate her about the angels. Deducing that River will write the book, Amy identifies Rory's location using the chapter titles, and the Doctor sends her to rescue him, but they find that he has disappeared. The Doctor, meanwhile, is upset at reading the final chapter title in the novel, Amelia's Last Farewell. In an attempt to change the future, he orders River to free herself from the angel without breaking her wrist, as Amy had read from the book which made it the inevitable future. River apparently frees herself unharmed and locates Rory nearby at Winter Quay. He had been moving in space, but not time. However, the Doctor discovers that River did break her wrist, and he uses his regeneration energy to heal it. At Winter Quay, Rory is drawn to an apartment labeled with his name just as the Doctor, Amy, and River arrive. Inside, an elderly Rory is lying on a bed and calls Amy over before dying. The Doctor suggests that the quay has been used by the angels many times as a battery farm, leaving the victims to live out their lives in solitude while feeding off their energy. Rory and Amy refuse to accept their fate. Instead, they can run from the angels forever. The Doctor and River agree and help to distract the angels, and Amy and Rory make it to the roof, where the Statue of Liberty, now revealed to be an angel, awaits. Rory suggests there is another exit. Were he to die by jumping from the roof, a paradox would be created and wipe the angels from existence. Rather than pushing them as he requests, Amy joins them, and the two jump just as the Doctor and River reach the roof. The four find themselves back in the modern-day New York graveyard again. As they are about to leave, Rory spots a tombstone with his name on it, and moments after, he is touched by a surviving angel and disappears into the past. A distraught Amy convinces herself that if she were touched by the same angel, it would send her to the same time it sent Rory. The Doctor desperately tries to talk her out of it, knowing that due to the paradox previously created, he cannot return to the past to see her again, but River insists she go. Amy says goodbye and allows the angel to touch her, leaving the Doctor devastated at her departure. The tombstone changes to reflect Amy's presence in the past with Rory, both having died in an old age. In the TARDIS, the Doctor asks River to travel with him. She agrees, but not all the time. River tells him that Amy would be the one to publish the book she writes, and she will send it to her and ask her to write an afterword for the Doctor. Realizing, he races back to their picnic spot and retrieves the page he tore out earlier, which contains the afterword. In it, Amy tells him that she and Rory love him and assures him that they lived a good and happy life together. She also suggests that he pay a visit to her younger self to reassure her that he will come back for her and take her on amazing journeys. Okay, The Angels Take Manhattan. 4 stars, not quite 5 stars, but it is a pretty good episode. It is the last episode to feature Amy and Rory. They've been with the Doctor for 2 and a half seasons, and now is their departure. So, they are one of the few companions that actually die. But, they die not in a gruesome way or like exterminated by a Dalek or something like that. It's a weeping angel death because, well, it's the weeping angels. They get sent back in time and live their lives in the past. And then they died in old age, like in their 80s. I think Rory died at 82 and Amy died at 87. But River is also in this episode. And what I really like is the idea of the book. Because there's this book that they use to know what they is going on in like the separate things of what's happening with River and Rory and Amy and the Doctor. I explained that really weird, and sorry if I'm looking up at the side. My dog is on my bed. I guess he doesn't like me recording. Okay. But anyway, back to the review. So basically, they use the book as like this sort of written in stone future thing. If you read ahead, then that thing that you read will for sure happen. So I found that really cool. And then the hints without giving anything away, as in the chapter titles, that was really well done. And yeah, it's sort of like how the Snowman worked, where the main focus is on the main characters, and then there's just an enemy thrown in there, because every Doctor Who episode needs an enemy for the Doctor to fight. So I think the only reason the Weeping Angels are there is, one, because the Doctor needs a monster to fight, and two, to help, like, give Amy and Rory a good death, so to speak. As in, like, you know, the Weeping Angel deaths, where they live out their lives, their full length of their lives. That type of death. Because I think Stephen Moffat didn't want to, like, I think he wanted to kill them, to end their story, so that, like, they can't come back or anything. But he also didn't want to kill them, like, let's think, any companions who died that I can think of off the top of my head. No, not really. I know there are a few in the classic series who have died. And if you count Rose as dying, yeah, but I don't really count that. But yeah, I think he just wanted, like, it to be a good death instead of, like, a bad death, like, as I said earlier, exterminated by a Dalek. So, yeah. So, as I said, the main focus of this episode, I think, was on Amy and Rory and the Doctor. Not so much River, but mostly Amy, Rory, and the Doctor. Because, well, it's Amy and Rory's last story, so of course the focus is going to be on them. And so, Rory, he doesn't even get to say goodbye or anything. He's just swept out of time. And the emotion is, like, so strong. It's really good. It's really well done. And, yeah, the Doctor's emotion is also really well done. He's, like, screaming at Amy to not go. Well, not exactly screaming, but he's really desperate for Amy to not go with the Weeping Angel, because at that point, he's being selfish. He wants Amy to keep traveling with him instead of going to be with Rory. So I think that shows more selfish side to the Doctor's character. And also, another thing, this is the last episode to feature the 11th Doctor's first TARDIS interior, because the Snowman has a new TARDIS interior. So, yeah, it's also the last episode to have the older 2010 title sequence, if you'll count the Season 7 ones as the same one. I count them as different versions of it. So, for this episode review, I'm just going to say it's still the 2010 version. But, yeah. It's the last one to feature that type. And, yeah. It is a sad story. Amy and Rory are gone. They've been good companions, but I think they had their time. I think 2 seasons is long enough for a companion. And the 11th Doctor, he does need some more companions than just Amy and Rory. He needs to have multiple companions. The 9th Doctor, it would have been better if he had multiple companions, but he only stayed for 1 season, so he couldn't exactly have that. And, yeah. So, as I said, this episode is really good. It's definitely worth a rewatch. They're worth multiple rewatches. A really good episode. and it's a very effective mid-season finale. Yeah, so that's not quite it for Season 7 Part 1, because, like, the reviews for it, because I'm counting Season 7, I'm counting The Snowmen as also in Season 7 Part 1, even though it's technically Season 7 Part 2, I'm still counting it as Season 7 Part 1, because, like, the Season 7 Part 2 trailers do not include the snowmen in that, and, yeah, I know it's a Christmas special, but still, I just counted it in Season 7 Part 1, so, yeah. So, that's it for this episode review, so, we're